Hey, what's up, guys? Teach Me Grappling. Coach Brian here, and I'm going to show you guys some footage tonight or today, whenever you're watching this. And the footage is going to be my guys working, first starting out working some lockdown. So I wanted to talk a little bit about. I just did a video on Eddie Bravo, talking about, do his moves really work? Do they work in MMA? And are they effective? Yes, they do work. The short answer, a lot of comments, people were commenting, some of them probably 10th Planet guys on that video, saying, of course they work. I mean, man, don't you know? Tony Ferguson. But, excuse my voice, guys. I'm still suffering from a little bit of a cough, little sickness that everybody's been getting. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I didn't mention in the video. People are pointing out Ben Saunders. I totally forgot about Shinya Aoki. Guys that displayed some awesome 10th Planet technique in their game and or in their fights, MMA fights specifically. And it does work. Of course, it works. But what I tried to also add was just some different ideas. I talked a little bit about the small amount of 10th Planet schools there actually are in relation to the rest of the Jiu-Jitsu world. Even though there's a lot of them, they still, I mean, when you think about it, because 10th Planet has such a unique style, it's not like the other schools are going to be working, a lot of 10th Planet stuff. They're going to be doing what they do. But 10th Planet's technique is somewhat unique. So, especially when it comes to the two subjects that I've been talking about, the rubber guard and, like you see here, the lockdown. One of my guys right here, Ryan, he's working a little bit of 200%. 100% action, trying to work that from the half guard, but his hip position is not the best. Okay, anyway, a lot of people, I'm just going to kind of ramble, guys. I'm going to just let you guys watch this footage and just talk, but a lot of people mentioned Tony Ferguson. He's probably the most popular guy because he's such a high level right now in the world when it comes to MMA. He's that next guy that everybody wants to see Khabib fight. So a lot of people talk about Tony Ferguson when you get Eddie Bravo's name brought up. Here's an electric chair working right here. Couple brown belts right here working it. So now, unlike a lot of jiu-jitsu schools, as I freaking just get sidetracked right there, they don't work this kind of technique. They're doing knee shield, they're doing De La Riva, inverted De La Riva, deep half guard. And then if you bring the gi on, you're going to get spider guard and worm guard and barambolas and all this shit. So they're not working a lot of 10th Planet, but over here at PG, we're working it, Part of the reason is we already did do the lockdown before, but the other reason is I did get the grappling instructionals series sent to me by Mike Mello, and I gave that little shout out video to for Magnus Hansen, who did an awesome job. So we're working it, especially right now. I saw some new stuff on that video series, so we're working some of that technique. Making sure that our guys stay up to date. So going back to what I was about to say earlier, I know I could be hard to follow, guys. Sorry about that. As you watch this nice little neck crank while we're in the half guard by a big man. Tony Ferguson, guys, in my opinion, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, especially if you're from 10th Planet, but Tony Ferguson isn't exactly the best 10th Planet technique guy to look to. He's a wrestler. He wrestled in Michigan, and I actually trained Tony Ferguson a few times in his career. But he did go to 10th Planet. He has been there for several years now, and I'm sure he knows quite a bit of the system. But he's good with the Darce, and he's good at rolling all around with Granbys, and he's funky as hell, and he's the cardio king in MMA. But I wouldn't consider him the rubber guard master of the universe. But I'm sure he knows some of it. I'm sure he knows the lockdown. He's familiar with everything. But I know I might be hurting some people's feelings by saying this, but I wouldn't look to him or expect him to rubber guard Khabib, or hit Khabib with the lockdown and work the 10th Planet specific technique. But that isn't all that 10th Planet is. I mean, they do leg locks, they do basic jiu-jitsu, they do it all, just like everybody else. But then I gotta say it, there are styles, just like I have a style. So, I'm trying to infuse the best of 10th Planet technique, in my opinion, into our style. I try to teach it. Again, as I mentioned before, we don't do a whole lot of the rubber guard because I'm not a big fan of it myself. I feel like you need to be fairly flexible, and sure, part of it's just hard work ethic of doing your flexible work, but that I guess we're not willing to do over here at my place. But we work on other things. So, and that's, I think, a lot of people need to understand that jiu-jitsu alone, let alone MMA, jiu-jitsu in of itself is so large, it's so vast of an ocean, that there's room to have different styles within jiu-jitsu. Like when people say I do jiu-jitsu, it really doesn't tell you that much. All it means is, to most people, is, oh, you're a grappler. Like, you're going to try to grapple with me on the ground. But in the jiu-jitsu community, it doesn't tell you much about someone. If someone says they do jiu-jitsu, you don't know if they have an incredible guard. You don't know if they're a top player. You don't know if they like leg locks or neck cranks, or if they're going to try to twister you. You don't know if they're going to even know what to do when their leg gets reaped, or how to keep balance. I mean, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that roll around a lot, and they're really good at so-called jiu-jitsu, but they have really bad balance. As you see, a nice little movement there, kind of deep half guard. It's a deep half to popping out to the back. Anyway, here's a big man versus a little man. Now the big man's not nearly as experienced, but little man Mike here with the lockdown. Check it out, electric chair, PG, doing electric chair, doing a little bit of stoner control. So yeah, so guys, look, I'm a supporter of Eddie Bravo. My guys, we're working the 10th Planet technique as well. Eddie Bravo has changed the game, and we did it, mama. So he changed the game, and it'll never be the same. And, it's a really cool thing. It's cool that Eddie Bravo did that. Again, if you go back to the 90s, I knew who Eddie Bravo was. We competed at a lot of the same tournaments. But I had my own way. I was making my own, path, and he was going his, and he became very successful with his path. He's not a very strong guy. He didn't really, even though he wrestled in high school, Eddie Bravo, I'm not 100% sure on it, but I don't think I've ever seen him do a takedown. He's pretty much a guard puller. And, master of the half guard with the lockdown, and then master of the rubber guard. And obviously he was able to catch Hoyler back in 2003 with a triangle, which really wasn't, I know a lot of people are like, that was 10th Planet. Well, it really wasn't, anything like that you wouldn't get at a regular jiu-jitsu school, other than his jailbreak escape that led him right into his triangle setup. The triangle itself and the triangle setup he used is fairly standard. But anyway, that was something that Jean-Jacques was big with, and several other jiu-jitsu schools would also work that kind of setup. But again, guys, I'm fairly fair. I think I'm fair on how I describe things. As you guys watch some of my gi guys work a little bit of no-gi, lockdown tonight, that's what happens. The guy gets your back if you don't whizzer, bro. You got to whizzer. So, gets the whizzer. You notice the lapel right there? Using the lapel to control with your underhook. Teaching my guys right here to come into this this newer kind of 10th planet finish that they like to call it high voltage. So showing you guys, revealing a little bit of secrets here too. I'm not going to teach you, but you guys, if you're smart, you can figure this out by watching the video. Anyway, we had a little gi class tonight with a few guys, so we're working a little bit of grabbing on the clothing a little bit while we use our lockdown. So, so as I continue to jump around and just show you guys this this content, hope you guys can learn something, and I'll ramble on as long as I can for as long as this video goes. In a little bit, I'm going to show you guys some live sparring rounds, just maybe like a round and a half, showing what it looks like here at my academy at PG. See our style. So just to talk more on styles, we are very different than 10th Planet. We're a no-gi school, much like 10th Planet. We're pretty much no-gi all the time. We do have this one gi class a week that very few people want to show up to because they don't want to put on the pajamas. But we are a no-gi school, but we teach a lot more takedowns. The 10th Planet guys that I've seen, now again, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but generally speaking, Eddie Bravo's style, now I know it's changing, it's rapidly changing because you got so many schools, and with so many schools, you got different people throwing in their ideas in the pot, but for the most part, Eddie's not a takedown guy. The 10th Planet guys that are good at takedowns usually are former wrestlers. So you're going to see now, these are some of our guys sparring. I kind of caught this mid-round. And none of my guys, you see a single leg there. Guys working a whizzer, hopping around. None of my guys that you're going to see here tonight are really wrestlers. They are Jiu-Jitsu MMA guys that have learned wrestling or learned takedowns in Jiu-Jitsu class. So even though my man right here, Carlos, has got wrestling shoes, he's not a wrestler. I've taught him some wrestling, but he's never wrestled in a tournament in his life. So this is the kind of style that we bring that's probably quite a bit different. You see a nice little arm throw there by Carlos. Again, how do you learn skill like that? Well, you can go to a judo school, you can go to a wrestling school, or you can go to a jiu-jitsu school that has wrestling coaches at it that are going to teach you wrestling. Or you can come to PG where we infuse it with our jiu-jitsu. It's a part of our jiu-jitsu. We're not catch wrestlers, but I guess you could say that some of what we do is similar. But I don't shit on the guard. I don't shit on jiu-jitsu technique, which I got to be honest, I hear that a lot from the catch wrestling world. But, I understand. They're just fighting for theirs. But, we work our wrestling into our jiu-jitsu. It's a part of our grappling. So I think that's important. I'll admit my guys may not have the greatest guards in the world, but it's also part of that is because we try not to put too much into the guard where it's just everything is about the guard. I mean, yes, I do agree that jiu-jitsu is a large portion of it, probably 75% of it. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, but is guard. It's either working your guard or passing the guard. That's a huge part of the game. But at the same time, one of my pet peeves of jiu-jitsu, of the jiu-jitsu world, is that guys are working guards so much, they tend to fall over to their back. I don't think they're actually going to be as successful as they think they are in an MMA fight or in a street fight. I think it's a little bit better to balance your style, have a decent guard, have a good top game, and definitely learn your takedowns. So, again, I kind of caught that roll mid-session. So I got one more roll for you. Here's a little 5-minute roll. Got Mikey versus Jacob. Again, Mikey's much more experienced than Jacob, so definitely Jacob's going to be on the receiving end. He's got a single leg there, and Mikey goes for a Kimura and looks to trap the head right here. He could have went for a scissor choke, just chose to get back up. Jacob's doing the best he can. He's working his way back up, kind of got his head in a little bind. There's Mikey throwing in the banana split again. So, and I mean, like for example, there you see one of my guys working the banana split, working his way towards the back. Some people would say, oh, you guys are like 10th Planet. And it's like, no, we're not like 10th Planet. I mean, we are ourselves. 10th Planet does not have a monopoly on the banana split. When it comes, the one thing I will give to 10th Planet is the rubber guard itself. And I'll give a lot of the lockdown system. But when it comes to leg locks, just because, 10th Planet does leg locks a lot, doesn't mean that if you see a heel hook, it means they're doing 10th Planet. Just like it doesn't mean they're doing Danaher stuff. People right now will probably point to Danaher or Gordon Ryan or Gary Tonin or Eddie Cummings or something like that, or Craig Jones if you do a heel hook. And, that's just ridiculous. Heel hooks have been around. I was doing heel hooks before some of those dudes were born. So, it's a part of it. See a nice little armbar finish there. So, the styles, we work banana splits, we're working twisters, we're working all that stuff. Again, the twister was definitely already a part of the game. Eddie just happened to make it really popular. But because I came from wrestling, I was also very well aware of the twister when I came up. So there's a little Darce action. Okay. Again, that's another move. Very popular among almost all jiu-jitsu schools. So when it comes to styles, got a little north-south choke. Made really popular by Jeff Monson and then later on by Marcel Garcia. And Jacob's doing a good job of kind of fighting his way out of there. And now I think Mikey wants to catch him in it. He could go for something else right here, could attack the arm. But instead of the arm right here, he's looking at the position, and he really, really would like to catch him in a north-south choke. So he's checking him right there. Looks at his head, waiting for it to pop up. Boom. Try to catch it again. So Jacob's he's got a good bridge, man. This kid's a brand new kid, but he's fighting hard. So again, both guys non-wrestlers, but got to teach them takedowns, got to teach them how to fight their way back up. One day they may be fighting MMA, so I know Jacob would like to fight. Mikey has no interest, but he's working on his jiu-jitsu. That's what he's interested in. So, guys, I'm rambling. So, getting close to the end here. I just want to end with this, guys. Look, there's styles in jiu-jitsu. Accept it. It's a good thing. We shouldn't crap on each other's styles too much. Again, if somebody is really leg lock heavy, that's awesome. You got knee bar Mike here with a beautiful transition for the legs. Speaking of leg locks, working on that knee bar. Check out the little move right here. The other leg's being annoying as hell. All you got to do is simply push that foot down, triangle it, and you trap it like a figure four, and boom, you got free access. So, you can do leg locks a lot. You can work, if you want to master the basics of jiu-jitsu when it comes to arm bars and chokes, become a master of that. Personally, I love the back. I like to take the back, and I like the rear naked choke myself. It's one of my favorite things. If you want a rubber guard, then you rubber guard. You know, kick people's ass with the rubber guard. If you find yourself on bottom and you want to develop your guard game and you want to work the lockdown, work the lockdown. If you're just terrible at it and you want to do something else, do something else. But there can be multiple different ways of jiu-jitsu. It is an absolute beautiful thing that there is so much variety, and it seems like there's never a day on the mats that is boring and just uneventful. Every single day I train and teach. It's a beautiful thing. I love it so much. So guys, enjoy and embrace jiu-jitsu styles, all the styles out there, and see you next time.